Today we're going to be talking about if the no contact rule can work if your ex lost feelings for you. It seems like it would have kind of a simple answer, right? But it's actually a lot more complicated than that. So really there's three things that I want to talk to you about with regards to will a no contact rule work if he's lost feelings for you? And those are, will the no contact rule actually improve your odds of restarting their feelings for you? The misconception most people have about the no contact rule, and the secure attachment gravity component that almost everyone misses with regards to the no contact rule. So let's first start by answering kind of a big question here, which is, will no contact improve the odds of restarting a man's feelings for you? Most of the people who probably find themselves watching a video like this or reading an article like this or listening to a podcast like this have a pretty strong belief that their ex has completely lost feelings for them. And in my opinion, the no contact rule alone isn't going to be what can restart someone's feelings for you. Now, that may hurt to hear, but there's a lot more that goes into making someone fall for you than simply ignoring them and trying to manipulate them. And that's really the problem I see nowadays when people come into our orbit. So half the battle that my coaches and I have is convincing new clients that while the no contact rule is consistently shown to be an effective strategy in ex recovery, its importance is often inflated because most people have a drastic misunderstanding of the true point of no contact. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, because theoretically, if you do a no contact rule the way I basically suggest, you can create an environment that makes it more likely that their feelings for you can bubble to the surface. It's a little bit complicated, and it may sound like a little bit of a contradiction, but just keep watching. So most people have this gigantic misconception about the no contact rule. And perhaps the biggest challenge that I face on a day-to-day basis with clients and even members of this YouTube channel who are watching this YouTube video is that there's essentially a re-education process that needs to go on. Unfortunately, ex-boyfriend recovery, ex-girlfriend recovery, all the recovery websites that we've created isn't often the first choice when people start reading about the breakups. Yeah, it should be. I of course say this being completely unbiased, but for whatever reason, people seem to fall into other versions of the recovery programs out there, which is fine. But ultimately, when they try those programs, don't like them, or something doesn't sit well with them, they somehow find their way into our orbit. And when I say our orbit, I'm saying people who are reading my website, reading my YouTube channel, listening to my podcast. Generally speaking, they've already done all of their research on the no contact rule from my peers, and they fall for a very seductive misunderstanding. And that misunderstanding is that if you simply engage in a no contact rule, then your ex will miss you. And yes, there's actually some research to support this thesis. After all, in a post that I actually wrote yesterday on my website, I talk about the no contact rule in this concept of reactance. If you're not familiar with what that is, reactance is essentially if you take someone's behavioral freedoms away, they're going to react in a way to try to reclaim that behavioral freedom. So it seems relatively straightforward, right? Implement a no contact rule and your ex is bound to miss you, right? Well, all the way up until 2020, this is kind of what I believed until I actually started paying attention to what really happens for our clients who use the no contact rule. So it started first when I decided to do a poll of our private Facebook support group on how often their exes reached out to them during no contact. So essentially, I put this poll out on our Facebook group, basically asking for those of you who have completed a no contact rule, how many of your exes reached out to you during it? My assumption would be that at least 70% of people would say, yeah, my ex reached out to me. Well, the results were a little different. Around 60% of our clients said that their exes did not reach out to them during no contact. That doesn't mean they don't miss their exes, right? Well, in 2020, during the pandemic, we actually had our best year ever, right? So we had more traffic, more digital product sales, more success stories, more of everything, which is kind of bittersweet if you think about it. But it makes sense. The pandemic was a source of a lot of pain for individuals, and ultimately, a lot of breakups occurred. 2020 was also the year I started kicking it into high gear with interviewing success stories and posting those interviews for free on YouTube. Just simply typing in my name, Chris Seiter, success story, will put up a volume of success story interviews that I've done with women who have gone through our program and either successfully gotten over an ex. More specifically, we focused on women who got their exes back because we were trying to understand what was working.
Real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video.
And what I learned in 2020 in my interviews of success stories kind of shocked me. I noticed that almost all of the success stories were very complimentary of the no contact rule, but they didn't really cite its ability to make an ex miss them as this great thing. In fact, the most successful people really harped on this concept that we teach called the Trinity. So what is the Trinity? Well, it may seem like we're taking kind of a strange detour and not talking about the no contact rule restarting an ex's feelings for you, but I assure you I'm getting to it. But sometimes all that knowledge that you need happens on the detour, so bear with me here. So the Trinity is all about maximizing the following areas of your life: health, wealth, and relationships outside of your ex. I ultimately found in interviews that the individuals who spent their no contact time focused on balancing their lives out in this way saw some pretty incredible results, because really the focus wasn't outgrowing the breakup. It was about healing. But still, I felt like I was missing a part of the equation. That's when attachment styles really came to the forefront for me. And really, that's where the concept of secure attachment gravity came into play. So secure attachment gravity as a concept, in my opinion, is the real reason for why you see so many exes have feelings during a no contact rule. But it's a bit complicated to explain. So really, there's only two types of attachment styles. There are the secure attachment styles and the insecure attachment styles. Of course, 90% of the individuals we're dealing with in our coaching practice have insecure attachment styles, of which there are three: anxious, avoidant, and fearful. Now, I've talked a lot on the YouTube channel about what each of these are and sort of dove in depth on each of them. So I really highly recommend you watch some of the videos that we've conducted based on attachment styles. But in a nutshell, here's what each attachment style means. The anxious person is going to have their entire identity wrapped up around relationships. They'll have low confidence, and their sense of self is basically wrapped up in the relationship. The avoidant will leave the relationship when they feel like their independence is being assaulted, and the fearful person is basically a combination of both anxious and avoidant. Now, the vast majority of our clients are anxious, while the vast majority of their exes are avoidant. So what we are often dealing with is this avoidant anxious match, and oh boy, do they make a match. But simply understanding attachment styles essentially will help us paint a clearer picture of why so many people are struggling with the no contact rule. I've made it blatantly clear in the past that over 80% of our clients who attempt the no contact rule in our coaching practice will fail it at least once. Often, this is because anxious behavior and thoughts get the better of them because most of our clients are anxious. It also paints the picture of why most exes don't respond to a no contact rule, because the truth is that most exes are avoidant and they have avoidant tendencies in some way, shape, or form. And often, many of my peers propagate the no contact rule as a mean to make an ex miss you because they know it appeals to your anxious side. But at the same time, there's just always going to be a segment of exes who miss you during no contact. It just works out that way. But many of my peers haven't put a lot of extra thought into the mechanism of what really makes exes miss them during no contact. And I like to think it's the concept called secure attachment gravity. So do you remember during your childhood, there used to be this saying, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Now, personally speaking, I'm not particularly religious, but I always thought it was a great mechanism to help you stay on the straight and narrow. When in doubt, you ask yourself, well, what would Jesus do? If he wouldn't take the action you're considering taking, then don't do it. If he would, then do it. Seems like a simple way to approach life. Well, I want you to start asking yourself, WWSD, what would a secure do? Now, on my website, I put sort of this interesting graphic together showing you essentially that all of the attachment styles that are insecure just seem naturally drawn towards secure attachment, almost the same way that a planet is sort of connected through gravity to the sun and revolves around the sun. Same principle applies to secure attachment gravity. That's it at work. And an interesting thing we've noticed is that often insecure attachment styles are drawn to the secure one. And really, in my opinion, this is the function of a no contact rule. It should be all about getting you to a secure and healthy place, both emotionally and physically. This is what creates an environment for an ex to have feelings for you again. So what would a secure person do during a no contact rule? Simply put, they would spend their time moving on from an ex. It sounds weird, but this is exactly what you should be focusing on. Not on what your ex is doing, not on if they're dating someone else, not on how you can get them back. Rather, focus 100% of your energy on you, on balancing out that Trinity. Only then do you create an environment where an ex wants to revisit things with you. So if that's the function of your no contact rule, then yes, the no contact rule can work if they've lost feelings for you. It can work on a lot of levels. But here's the thing. No matter what I do, I kind of feel like there's nothing that I can say to prove this point to you. Because most of the time, the big, exciting thing to talk about with the no contact rule is sort of that manipulation aspect. But what's funny is the manipulation aspect is present. Reactance is there. But the people who you actually talk to who succeed with their exes, they're the ones who are using that time so wisely and investing it into the one thing that's always worth investing in, themselves. And I don't want you to think that by being more secure, by turning yourself more anxious into a more secure person, that's going to solve all of your problems. It's not. It doesn't work that way. In fact, it's not going to be the thing that completely pulls an anxious person to you or an avoidant person to you or a fearful person to you. But what it will do is make it so that you're not triggering them. And then, because you're not triggering them, it seems to them like you are different. And they start to look at you with a new set of eyes and a new set of criteria. And that allows the feelings to slowly begin to bubble to the surface. So that is really what can make an ex miss you during the no contact rule. And the misconception people have about the no contact rule is it's not the reactance component that often works. Yes, it can work. There is a certain segment, no matter what you do, that will always react to the no contact rule in a way in which they're trying to talk to you again. But for the vast majority of people who try the no contact rule, research has shown that it's the people who become secure, who act secure, who stay secure, that create longing within their ex. And that is what you should be taking all of your time during the no contact rule doing. In fact, the single one thing I want you to leave with here watching this video is it's not so much about manipulating an ex. It's about kind of outgrowing them and putting your time into the one resource that is always worth investing in, and that's yourself.